these games. Subscribing gets you regular replay packs. We just sent one out. You'll get the one we just sent out when we send out our next sub message. That'll be on Monday, when we're also going to be sending out the brand new replay pack featuring all of the games you see today, as well as all of the games you see throughout the rest of the WardiTV weekly series and all the rest of the stuff we've casted on the channel here. So that goes out on Monday, so that's a big benefit of subscribing. We'll be giving away a co-op command and 3 more subs as well. And today we've already unlocked a t-shirt giveaway and a poster giveaway, which is going to be sub only too. I'm going to be setting up so that people can enter for that over the next day or so. Obviously you've got that Twitch Prime, give that sub button a click. You don't know when your Twitch Prime sub is available, and if it is available, you don't know who to spend it on, spend it here. We'd love to have you join us as part of the family. And of course, finally, you can now sub gift as well. And you can donate or cheer if you'd like to support in other ways. All of it helps to keep me as a full-time StarCraft 2 streamer, caster, content producer, event organizer, top-class memer, and all the rest of it. I do appreciate all the support as we have to the bottom right-hand side. In our 4th series of the day, the underdog. The only man to take a map off of Zest so far. Oh, well, so far. The only man to take a map that wasn't Zest so far today is Hellraiser. The top left-hand side, our red Terran player is INnoVation. Excited to see what he can come up with here as we see a CV nibbling away at this probe. It's a little bit of a nibble coming down here right away. Just getting set up. The command center being thrown down in the natural expansion. The expansion of INnoVation beginning to be set up right now. Just getting set to go. Probe just hides off in the corner. Factory will drop down as well. INnoVation here. We'll throw down the reactor too. I mean, I guess he's going to play the same style. I've seen a couple of people in the chat saying, you know, this is what he's been doing on the, you know, on stream and so on. So we'll see if Hellraiser. I mean, the thing about Hellraiser is, like, you know, if I was him, I would imagine that he'd probably, you know, have been watching that Zest INnoVation series. Have a look to see what Zest does. Have a look to see what INnoVation does, and you just sort of go from there and see what happens, as we're going to be seeing this Ripper coming through the center of the map. Going to be trying to see what's going on in the early stages, a little bit of scouting information. Now, Hellraiser opens with the Robo first rather than the Twilight first. And there is indeed the Cyclone on the way up from INnoVation. It is on the reactor, so second Cyclone will not be far off of start. He's just getting the gas and the minerals for it. And that will be on the way too, as Reaper into the main base, and so far Stalker pulling into position to deal with this. Can he save the probe? Doesn't save the probe, but the Reaper does go down. I mean, the Reaper sees the Robo facility, but doesn't see much else and will not be able to scout further. I mean, it would be nice if you keep the probe alive, obviously, because the Reaper wasn't getting out anyways, but as it stood, you know, at least he killed the Reaper, right? At least he didn't kill a probe, get out, and, you know, all the rest of it. So it wasn't so bad there. As we do see again, that Twilight Council's just about halfway done at the moment, and, well, INnoVation with his fast forward command center coming up as well. Pretty much exactly what we've seen so far, but this is a bit of a switch up, right? This time he goes into a siege tank after just 2 Cyclones. Maybe realizing with the War Prism he might be under some earlier pressure. I'm not too sure. I mean, that's the difference, right? So far, every game against Zest, he went 4 Cyclones at least. This game, he goes 2 Cyclones, then a siege tank. So the only difference I can sort of tell is that, hey, you know, there's an, you know, there's a Robo up instead of a Twilight. Maybe going to be under some earlier pressure from Robo-based units, and so he goes into tanks earlier on. And there is an Immortal already on the way out. Hellraiser will follow this up with a Blink Stalker play as well. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Blink right now is so powerful in the early to mid game. Just take that map control, you poke around, and especially with the compositions that have been very powerful lately too. You know, Colossi coming back into fashion. Well, with Colossi back in fashion, you know, we'll be seeing a lot of you know, Blink Stalker Colossi plays, for example. So it makes a lot of sense. Let's see a pylon maybe going down here. There is a shield battery available. The only issue is this Stalker on the low ground is a little bit out of position, but Hellraiser loses a pylon. Otherwise, he's looking pretty good. And those 2 Cyclones are going to come back up through the center of the map towards the upper left-hand side. As these extra factories are going to be finishing, obviously we do just get the confirmation that INnoVation will be playing mech here in game number 4. There's that War Prism starting up on the robotics facility, so War Prism starting on up, and Blink still just about halfway done. So again, potential aggression here. No, I'd like it, honestly, if he went across the map, and he actually needs another pylon to get close to the Nexus for faster warpins, but get across the map, the Blink Stalkers and the, you know, the Immortal. I feel as though you could get quite a lot done. Like, if you just drop on top of the first couple of tanks, like Immortal here, Stalkers blink up, I really feel like you could get a lot done. Or maybe that is why INnoVation started those tanks a little bit earlier than before. As Hellraiser starts to move out, he's going to come around the left-hand side of the map now. Coming all the way around. And I mean, Hellraiser is not completely reliant on this to do damage. He is throwing down a forge, so he is looking for further upgrades. He's looking for something to help him continue in this game. He's only on 3 gates, so it's not like he's just completely all in. It's a bit of a pressure push, you know, see what he can get up to. And, well, especially as INnoVation moves out towards his third base. I wonder if those Cyclones are just a bit too strong to really attack on into here. Now, one tank obviously reaches quite far. He'll get a kill on a refinery, gets an SCV so far too. And he sees the third base, but tank's in position. Hellraiser could maybe try an elevator up in towards the main base. Takes an Immortal and a couple of Stalkers. And that's actually quite cute because, you know, it takes a lot to take down an Immortal, especially if it has a few Stalkers with it. And hitting the mineral line here, well, we're going to see the armory is going to be delayed, and there's the warp in to get another Stalker or so out, although Hellraiser a little bit of a supply block. That is a little bit of a shame for him, as we're going to see the Immortal is a little bit out on its own, pulling back right now, and looks though it will just kind of lift up into safety. Those Stalkers just going to try and blink to the low ground. Yeah. I mean, they probably could have jumped into the warp prism, as it's actually going to go down here, so he has no choice other than to drop the Immortal. INnoVation shuts this down completely. A mistake here by our Protoss player. A little bit overzealous, not even overzealous, I feel, just messed up his getaway and maybe stuck around a bit long. Probably could have just picked up the Stalkers with the Immortal and just flown straight out through the south side. Probably would have been a solid way to do it. Fed Nexus is going to be continuing to come up as well here. So we're going to be seeing tanks, Hellions, a few Cyclones pushing forwards. Stalkers actually picking off a Hellion and a Cyclone so far, so making use of that blink and the mobility of these Stalkers to be out on the map already. INnoVation obviously feeling though he's killed a lot, and the fact that he's killed a few units already, being able to push out, again, something we just didn't see against Zest until much later in the game. So interesting when you see kind of series of players back to back against different opponents of the same race, and you see them just make changes based on what happens, based on what they see, and just based on how their opponents play in general as well. INnoVation playing a very different game so far than what we saw earlier. As we're going to see some probes transferring. They're actually going to be kept alive by the shield batteries, but, well, I mean, still not the best thing in the world, right? If your natural expansion is under heavy siege, this tank going to siege up here as well. These tanks are in such a powerful position. As you're going to see the Stalkers going to start trying to blink on top to do damage here, and we're going to be seeing just the push forwards to try and clean this up, but the Stalkers again melted by the siege tanks. The only issue now is that a lot of these tanks are further back, and because of that, INnoVation can't reach all of these units at the same time. But he traded very well there once again. The Stalkers that were there just melted, and now INnoVation reinforces this as Hellraiser does throw down the fairly fast fourth base. No high ground vision from INnoVation at the moment, so these Stalkers can kind of work from the high ground. Now he's going to try and blink on top of these tanks to, well, maximize his damage and obviously try and get some friendly fire as well, potentially. But look at this, the Immortal's getting low, and even if these tanks go down, the Stalker count is getting decimated at the same time, and INnoVation is still just holding a 30 or so supply lead at this point. +2 weapons on the forge, as we're going to be seeing the +2 vehicle upgrade coming in on this armory. Obviously the +1 plane is just about to finish up as well. INnoVation's double armory players gets him the very well upgraded mech army. The issue against Zest was at this point, you know, Zest was making carriers already. And Hellraiser is obviously nowhere near that stage, and so INnoVation, he's playing into the kind of the fast ground upgrades, and that's going to help him throughout the game here, compared to against Zest, where it very quickly didn't become very applicable because of the fact that it was such a fast attack into carriers. As here he goes, Stalker's blinking forwards as Hellraiser tries to break out of his own natural expansion. Some Zealots are doing a lot to really help out in all of this, as the tanks really being pushed back by the Zealots more so than anything else right now. As this Immortal is just not going to go down. He's going to go for that tank kill, and he gets it. Hellions coming through though, we'll clean this up, and even if it's just Hellions remaining, they could run by now potentially and get some further damage. There's a few Stalkers up here, and obviously you can't really just fight the Stalkers, not with the shield batteries. They're going to keep these Stalkers full of shields and away from any real dangers. INnoVation is still just rallying units across the map. We actually saw SCVs having to pull away here for a moment against this warp prism. These Zealots getting into some action there, as we're going to be seeing coming forwards once more. A couple of Zealots going down. These Zealots doing a lot across the map. I mean, this counterplay, this warp prism play, imagine he didn't lose his first warp prism, it would have been like this for so much more of the game. And that might just be the one thing that really did help INnoVation to really just establish himself a decent position here. That said, it is now cleaned up. The warp prism killed by a couple of Vikings too. Hellraiser being shut down across the map as he continues to just about hold on, just about survive in his natural expansion. Fourth command center becomes a planetary fortress, as we would expect here, of course. It's planetary on the way up. Just getting rolling. A moment or two of peace and quiet in a game that's been very hectic so far. Very, very busy in terms of attacks. First Hellraiser. Well, even, I mean, the first two cyclones from INnoVation started it off, and since then it's been go, go, go. Prism comes through to the top side as Stalker's looking for a place to deal some damage. And I like it. Get on the map of the units that can move around the map, right? Makes a lot of sense. Stalker's to the right-hand side as well. He's going to go for like the multi-pronged here. Try and hit to the left, to the right, and just see where he can find the openings with, well, his units that are more mobile. They are units which should be able to move around more easily. Nice blink up to the high ground there, using the kind of high ground vision to then blink up this side. Gets a few SCVs already. Sorry for the lack of game HUD, guys. Some of these games are hosted without game HUD for some reason. Even when we turn it on, it just doesn't load in with it. I don't know, a little bit of a bug in the BNet client at the moment. But that's why you can't see the workers being killed. As Hellraiser grabs quite a few here. He's going to get himself a couple of Hellbats here as well. He's actually going to blink on top of these tanks. You know, I don't mind it. He kills off 2 tanks. He's still going to have the Stalkers. There's a couple more tanks in the back. That's where so much of this damage was coming from. Okay. I don't mind it from what Hellraiser knew, but it was a bit risky, and I guess he got punished with a few tanks that were further back. Stalkers in the main now, though. I mean, they're doing some damage as well, and this is the sort of stuff that is just so difficult to deal with. As a mech player, these Stalkers are highly mobile, and you know, you don't want to commit all your army to one place to defend. You got to split it up, but splitting up your army can get a little bit messy, as we're actually going to see some of those Stalkers able to recall out of there down towards the 4th base. The 5th starts up from Hellraiser. How long will he hold that for, though, as Hellions and tanks moving across the map? A push here from INnoVation to try and end game number 1 in his favor. It's the best of 3 that we're playing, guys. It's a random group. Hellraiser took a map off Zest earlier. Doesn't look so hot right now against INnoVation here, though, in game number 2. Game number 1 in his second series. Hellbats come in. We're going to see, well, the Hellbats just roast those Zealots. Now a couple of Archon Stalkers and Immortals, but the tank fight is going to be way too much. He picks off the Raven, which is great and all, but I mean, the Stalkers lasted about half a second as they blinked forwards there. They died extremely quickly. I'm just going to be seeing our Terran player just going to push on through, and well, he's going to be just sieging up for safety's sake, but he probably could just aim move this right now with unsieged tanks, and well, he's just setting it up safely. I guess eventually the tanks do more damage if they're sieged up as well, so there it is. The siege comes in, and Hellraiser will GG just before he runs his units into their death. And that is going to be Hellraiser typing out. And also, coming through was the, another thing worth mentioning was the giveaway. We're going to be doing, if we hit 3 more subs today, we will be doing a co-op commander giveaway on the stream. So you guys want a chance to win a co-op commander, then you can, oh, you need a couple more subs, but yeah, lots of benefits to subbing. But we talked about them not so long ago, so how about we just introduce the players now instead? To the bottom right hand side, our blue Terran player. Give it up, guys, if you're cheering on INnoVation. To the upper left, our red Protoss player, Hellraiser. Comes in with the probe scout. Hey, INnoVation lost a probe, lost an SCV to Zest probe earlier, so it's not an impossible thing to think that Hellraiser might get something here. It's just annoying. I mean, look at this. With 1 scout and probe, he gets A, information, but B, you know, that's 2 more SCVs that were pulled off the line here, and this one still is off the line. This probe gonna come around the back, and we'll just see what it can get up to, obviously, as the orbital comes up. And obviously, I mean, in general here, INnoVation hasn't been doing anything crazy, right? His opening has been very standard Reaper expand, which leads into the Cyclone. And obviously from there you can get a lot of benefits, I suppose, as we do see the probe coming back in towards the natural as the SCV starts to build up the command center. Just gets that going for the next couple of moments. I was really looking forward to this group, and I mean, it's obvious why, right? It's just absolutely stacked. But Especially to get Rogue playing. Rogue's a player who I don't think has played in any of my events before. It's kind of like when TY played for the first time in one of my events. I was like, "Ooh, TY, that's awesome!" And yeah, now he's now he plays in a lot more of the events, and it's always really nice to see. When it's always really nice to see kind of a couple of new guys taking part, and yeah, now we have some contact to Rogue, and obviously that's a big plus. Getting Rogue for more of our events in the future. What's up, Robert Fari? Good morning, Wardy. I know it's afternoon for you. No worries. Thank you very much for the cheer 100. How you doing today? And Too Much Spirit coming in for the Twitch Prime sub. Some Wardy hearts in the chat for the love, guys. Donation as well coming in from Dunade Buff. Actually, I think there's another donation I missed as well. I'll read those out after the game because I don't want to tab out right now and lose sound, etc. Thank you for the love, guys. Thank you for the support. Too Much Spirit, new sub. You can get yourself a decoration of the tree. Let me know which colour you'd like, and we can pop you up on that. As you see, the Twilight Council, the Robo Facility, coming down in the main base, just setting up and getting rolling. The Cyclone from INnoVation going to start moving out onto the map as well. Couple more gates coming up. If you just joined us, guys, the matches you have missed are all the Zest games. So Zest has already played against Hellraiser, INnoVation, and Rogue. Right now you're watching INnoVation, Hellraiser. And up next, Rogue will finish his matches. Rogue against Hellraiser, and then Rogue against INnoVation is our final series of the night. Yes, I definitely set it up like this, You know how it is, guys. Setting it up for the, the Rogue INnoVation final series, build up the hype. I really feel like it could be an awesome one. If INnoVation's going to play some mech, Rogue's going to play the long game against it. Oh god, it could be sick. Here's hoping. As you see, the blink coming up on the Twilight Council. Extra gateways are finishing. Morphing into warp gates now. And again, just more probes coming out here from Hellraiser over the next few moments. Jim Sock with the Cheer 1 snipes the Bit Boss, which was on 101 health. Boom. The Sock has retaken its place as the Bit Boss. Dun dun dun! Couple more factories coming on up here. INnoVation is going to be playing mech once again. This time is again the double Cyclone into the siege tanks. How interesting. It's a bit of a just a bit of a safer way of playing here against Hellraiser than he played against Zest, I feel. As we do have the third command center going to be finishing up. Third Nexus from Hellraiser coming up as well. It's much faster 3cc from INnoVation, it feels. I know he's been going fast 3cc, but this feels super fast. Maybe a bit faster than before. Well, that blink upgrade will be finishing in a moment or so. Now we're going to be seeing that Nexus being thrown down here as well from Hellraiser. As we mentioned before, that's just finishing. So, this allows him to keep his economy rolling, and now a lot of Stalkers going to pressure forwards to see what they can do. So Stalker's blinking around, figuring out what they want to do at the moment, as we do see the Warp Prism coming over to the right-hand side. Stalker's blinking, and they are going to start working their way through this command center here. Orbital is going to lift, and probably see these Stalkers just going to be continuing to poke their way through that. That's nice. I mean, forcing a lift on the third base. INnoVation just not exactly in position so far. Thank you very much, Duplicit, who kills Jim Sock as the Bit Boss after just a few seconds. Thank you very much for the cheer 101. Appreciate it. Getting some Wardy hearts in the chat for all the cheers and stuff coming in, guys. Thank you for the support. As always, really do appreciate it. As you see, Stalker's blinking in. We are going to see a Barracks is taking some shots. A few extra gates coming up here from Hellraiser, as he actually does a little bit of a blink in towards the natural expansion there. Cyclones come to respond to this. Stalker's blinking back. He's losing a couple Stalkers. 4 SCVs killed. That wasn't so bad in the end. As, you know what I do love? This Observer just sat here, just kind of amongst all of these units, just able to keep track of what's going on, what's happening, just seeing if INnoVation moves out. Some really great information that you can pick up on. As we do see DT starting to come into play. Sorry, lack of observing momentarily. There we go. DT is going to drop down, and we're going to see SCV starting to be picked away at. Another couple. There's a scan coming in. Now DT in the third base as well, and in the main. Turrets are not ready, and so INnoVation is going to start taking some damage here. Another scan, as the DTs will be able to get out of scan range, though, so this scan might not even kill a DT. It's only got a couple seconds left. Wow, that scan didn't actually get a DT at all. Third base was saved. DT on the natural as well. Wow, INnoVation is taking some real damage to these Dark Templar. He's even doing some damage to the orbitals here as tanks are going down too. I'd much rather he fight this tank than the orbital command there, though, but man, I mean, this is insane. I mean, the third base still doesn't have a turret. It's 14 workers. It's multiple units. Hellraiser is doing a lot right now to put himself in a crazy good position. I mean, we've seen this couple of tanks being swiped away at still. This tank also going to be taking some more damage. Stalkers at the same time came into the third base. Did it go down? I think he just killed the third CC. Oh, wow. INnoVation's dead. Hellraiser is going to be... Hellraiser is going to be taking this... He's won this game, right? I mean, he just killed the orbital on the third with the Stalkers. Wow, Hellraiser with the DTs, and then suddenly the Stalkers doing so much here. Hellraiser is looking good to take in too. Spend his money in the bank, and he's just going to be able to push on in. I mean, a 2-base INnoVation is going to try and play a survival mode at the moment, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. And that DT play absolutely huge here, and again, just pulling INnoVation around to the point where he gets enough the Stalkers and kills the third base. Meanwhile, his fourth base on the gold is now mine, and the fifth base is setting up as well to the top side. You know, you all counted Hellraiser completely out of this group, but he was the guy to take a map off Zest. Now he's going to tie it up 1-1 with INnoVation, I think. Like, unless he messes up something really drastically here, this game is completely... Like, unless he really screws up an engagement, this really is his game, as we're going to be seeing these tanks going to be on siege and starting to move forwards. Still a few Stalkers just set up in the center of this warp prism as well, coming through. A lot more units through the middle of the map here in Hellraiser. And it's going to be coming forwards, and, well, let's see what happens. We're going to see a tank go, Hellback going down initially. I mean, it's the big push from INnoVation. Army supplies are actually kind of similar. Here we go. Tanks are not siege, starting this off. The warp prism goes down very quickly. Ah, this is just completely crushing. INnoVation's army will disappear. GG. GG. Number 3. It's 1-1 here between INnoVation and Hellraiser as to the bottom right hand side of the map. Our red Protoss player. Give it up if you're cheering on Hellraiser. Top left, our blue Terran. INnoVation. Game 3 of this series, guys. INnoVation. What will he change up? Well, I guess he'll probably build missile turrets just in case there's some Dark Templar this time. That's obviously the one thing that really went wrong from there. I mean, it's not like he played badly. I wouldn't even say this was one of those Protoss is bullshit kind of moments with the new patch or whatever. Like, this was just INnoVation messed up, and Hellraiser had the DTs, and he just got INnoVation completely off guard to the point where he was just, you know, he did enough damage. You do enough damage in the old patch with DTs like that, you're probably in a position to win the game, especially if you kill the third baseline. That was just INnoVation making some mistakes, just was not ready for the DTs, was not able to clean them up. There was like a scan at one point in the main which had 2 DTs in vision, and he didn't manage to kill either of them. So there was wasted scans, there was missed opportunities, and he just let the DT pressure go on for way too long. And obviously, I mean, maybe if you save the third base, you can sit back and max out and play from there, but if you lose the third base in the process, you are pretty much dead. This Reaper coming through the south side. Gonna see what it can get up to here. Shield battery on the way on the natural expansion. And again, the Reaper just coming up the right, looking to see where it can go, and looking to see what it can get up to. 2 Cyclones. Reaper hasn't picked up much info, in fact any info at all just yet. We're scouting for the proxy Stargate or so apparently, so This time it is the blink, nice and quick here out of Hellraiser. No Robo first. And still, INnoVation going to play the safer game. Just the 2 Cyclones, and then throwing down the 2 Cyclones, and then throwing down the factory onto the tech lab instead here. So, factory onto the tech lab as we do see this gateway starting on up. Extra gates coming through. Blink about halfway done from Hellraiser, and it's going to be seeing the setup here continuing. Extra gates coming through as a couple of refineries are building as well. There's that fast 3cc. Well, it is going to be a proxy, but it's just going to be a gateway. I mean, Hellraiser is just going to go full-on aggression with this. I mean, 4 gates, lots of stalkers. Maybe he feels as though he can kill his opponent here in the next few moments. Let's find out as the double armory coming in behind the natural mineral line. Stalkers starting to push across towards the upper left-hand side. Looking to see what they can get up to. Looking to see what they can achieve here. So Stalkers moving in towards the top left. A few more Stalkers warping as well. This is what, like 9 Stalkers here to push forwards? Well, let's see what's going to happen. As we do have these 9 Stalkers going to be getting ready. I mean, they're just going to blink on top, or they're just going to go for it. Well, he's going to get 1 tank instantly. The second tank will go down after a second shot. He's taking way too much damage. This is the issue. The top of the Cyclones here just deals so much over time. Well, Hellraiser, he's cleaned out 2 tanks. Now there's 1 more tank coming up. 4 more Stalkers have just warped in. I'm just trying to think about whether there's a possibility here of just going again for Hellraiser. Maybe 4 more Stalkers then go. I mean, now he's had 6 Stalkers a while and he's just been waiting. So going now doesn't really make sense to me. He's just trying to pressure. Maybe he does get 4 more before he blinks aggressively. Throwing down a Robo at home, taking the 3rd Nexus at the same time. Stalkers seeing what they can do, poking, prodding, working their way through this orbital. I mean, another tank siege up though, now a bit more spread out. It's going to be harder for Hellraiser to do a lot. But he stopped committing to the Stalkers. He stopped making them. He's just leaving them as they are now. And, well, I mean, charge lots are on the way. A couple of forges are being added into play here as well. And you do see the 1-1 upgrade still coming through as well for INnoVation. So that's still setting up. As you see those Cyclones just coming through and getting ready to go once more. I mean, if INnoVation can just push out of this, he can start moving towards his 3rd base. Meanwhile, Hellraiser is already a fully saturated 3rd. Just messing the gases over here as he adds on 4 more gates. The double forge as well. I mean, Hellraiser is almost just going to go like mass gateway against this right now. Mass gateway units, charge blink sort of combo. Not sure how that's going to work. Prism is on the way, but I mean, that is really what it feels like right now. It's going to be seeing the extra factories coming up from INnoVation, still just held on 2 bases at the moment. Stalkers pushing in again. They will be able to grab themselves a missile turret nice and easily. As INnoVation finally finds himself a way out towards his 3rd base. He can siege up over here now instead. As you can see, Hellraiser is already just thinking about a 4th Nexus as well. So just still expanding up this right-hand side at a rapid pace. Really going super quick. There's the Dark Shrine coming down. So he is going to get something beyond the just gateway-based units. Yeah, at least DTs, which of course can become Archons, which therefore is something a little bit more substantial. Prism coming across the map. He's bringing all of his units across here. There's a huge warp in of Zealots. Does this work? I mean, there's a few tanks, but not a lot. So honestly, there's a few Hellions as well. I mean, the Hellions are the big thing to deal with Zealots usually, so it's going to be very interesting. It's a lot of units. Stalkers will come in from 2 angles. Hellions morph into Hellbats. That will help. +1/+1 finishing for the Protoss, so it is going to be fairly easy. It's going to be fairly close. And it's just going to be seeing the Another prism to the main. Oh, you know what? I actually love this. If you can get a prism into the main, it's a great idea. Not sure if it's going to work, though. Zealots charge forward. Stalkers from the left-hand side. Well, here we go. Zealots have broken through the initial few Hellbats. They're on top of siege tanks, and that already is looking a little bit concerning, but there's a couple Hellbats left. Cyclones coming down from the main. That War Prism still just set up to do something. Here's Hellraiser is breaking through the third base. The Cyclones are being saved. SCVs have to be pulled in, though. This is 15 workers down already. INnoVation. He's lost a lot here, Hellraiser. I mean, he did use his entire army to do this, though, and some reinforcing tanks come through. I think that's time for Hellraiser to at least think about getting out sooner rather than later. I mean, 6 more Stalkers. Can he fight these tanks? I mean, he can maybe stay in this sort of position. I think the missile turret pushed that. Oh, well, I guess this is the prism, right? For a moment, I assumed there were 2. There is 2. So that was the prism from the top that just came in there. Well, I mean, it still gives Hellraiser now the chance to move around. He could maybe get into the natural here. Everything is so focused towards the third base, these tanks, etc. It's not that impossible an idea that he just pushes in towards the left-hand side into the natural, but he's maybe just going to get ready to go for another push in with his army. Now, I don't like this so much. This War Prism is pulling back down. I'm not sure where to. Just going to completely loop around the map. I really don't want Hellraiser to attack right now. I think if he attacks in, like, too many Hellbats to soak up the Zealot damage, just buys time as well, where the tanks aren't going down, but everything else is. Well, let's see what happens. We're just going to be seeing these units setting up. The 4th Command Center gets ready to go. Zealots warping into the left-hand side already. A prism over here. There's 3 prisms? No, that's the warp gate from before, of course. I completely forgot about it. For a moment, I was like, what? Just didn't look at it. As we're going to be seeing. I just don't think you can actually commit to a fight here. This little bit of a push gets seen. I mean, he's going to go for it from all sides. I mean, the idea is the Stalkers kind of want to jump on top of this. Of course, Archon's leading the charge on the right-hand side as well. Hellbats are starting to go down. I just think Hellraiser is not really going to have enough to properly push through this here. A couple of tanks still dropping, though. I mean, the Stalkers are still doing something. Blinking on top now as well to try and maximize their damage. I mean, this wasn't a terrible fight. I mean, it was pretty bad. Like, I think he lost a lot, and the problem is INnoVation with 3 tanks coming out at a time is just going to have too many tanks for like further waves of this aggression to really do anything. And I think Hellraiser is just getting a little bit too ahead of himself. Like, oh my god, I'm about to break him here. And obviously, that was not actually the case in the end. So, push back. Hellraiser loses a lot of his units now. In a way, because he was on the 4 base so early, etc., he was able to kind of afford to trade not so brilliantly here. 2,000 resources lost in favor of INnoVation is, you know, it's decent. You know, it's a good amount, but Hellraiser's had more income. If we look at the income graph, it's been up and down. Hellraiser in general is the one that keeps bouncing back into the lead. Just that 4th base being up obviously goes a long way. As we're going to see Hellbats finding these Stalkers, and oh, Hellraiser very late to blink away now as he warps into the high ground of the 3rd base. You know, now there's only 2 siege tanks over here. You know, he is starting to pull INnoVation apart a little bit. No, I wouldn't have minded if he, you know, with the last attack, if he'd waited until INnoVation was just a little bit more spread out, like onto the 2 bases, or onto the 4 bases, rather than just on 3, it might have actually worked. And then he concentrates everything onto the 3rd base or so, or onto the 4th base. But the fact that he just attacked into the 3 base INnoVation, he didn't have the 4th moving out already, and wasn't splitting up his army. Nah, it just wasn't. It was not going to be enough, right? It really just wasn't. More Hellbats, a few more tanks coming through. I think at this point Hellraiser has probably lost a bit too much. I mean, what's he building at home? His first Immortal's just come out. I mean, that's the thing. He's only got 1 Immortal out so far, you know. That's not a lot of tech. Obviously, he can warp in DTs to get Archons up here, but his gas count isn't crazy high. It's not like he's just suddenly going to have 8 Archons on the map or something. Hellions now going to think about trying to run by, and honestly, they can do a lot as well. This Immortal hidden off to the side. Hellions even splitting themselves up a little bit here. As this first mineral line going to take some damage. 3 workers down already, now 6. As also the 3rd base going to be under fire too. The cannon here will help a lot in terms of the defense. As you can see, those workers dropping by the moment. 12 workers killed for a handful of Hellions. When INnoVation is the one in such a lead already, just lowering that economy of the Protoss player goes a long, long way. 3rd tower upgrades coming through from INnoVation. Already +3 attack and armor halfway done here from the Protoss player. Attack's been finished long enough for the shields upgrade to start on the 2nd forge, and so already completed as well almost. So, and Hellraiser's upgrades are good. They can keep him in the game. Problem is, he just really needs to kind of find a way to fight this army. And I don't know if he is going to find a way to fight INnoVation's army. 165 supply. I mean, we're talking about the next minute or so, I think. I think in the next minute or so, it's INnoVation moving across here to put an end to this game. He's not going to give Hellraiser forever, and you know, 180-ish supply is a great sort of timing to move out. As to the left, we're going to see those stalkers setting up. Getting ready to push up this side. Actually going to be able to intercept this medevac at least, so something going good for Hellraiser. Intercepts a single Hellbat drop. And the stalker to the right side gets an SCV or two, but nothing too substantial, backs away. Another medevac drop to the top side, so these Hellbats looking to hit this mineral line, where there is a few units for now. Let's see if they're able to stay in position. Now a few more Archons starting to come on up here. Hellraiser. I mean, if Hellraiser gets maxed out, I mean, you gotta give it to him. There is possibilities if you're maxed out against maxed out, but it is going to be maxed out mech, and behind this we see Liberators starting to build as well. Stalkers blinking and trying to deny 5th base, starting to push that back already is a nice thing to see. So you see the Stalkers pulling down south, and waiting to see what's going to be next. There's a lot of DTs coming in to actually help defend this drop, but 6 probes lost nonetheless. Still quite a bit of damage taken. Stalkers around the top trying to do a little bit more, and we do see still just Hellbats and tanks in the centralized position. Hellraiser is getting aggressive. No, 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 Hellraiser, buddy. No. This is not how it's meant to be. Like, I mean, okay, your army's finally looking good, I agree. You've got a bunch of Archons, you've got Immortals. You're not meant to fight when you're 25 supply off max, and your opponent has had an insane amount of, an insane time against you so far. Oh, Hellraiser's going to start going for it. I just don't really feel like this is actually going to work. Stalkers are blinking around to try and do something. I think you can just see that the units of the Protoss are disappearing extremely quickly. These Archons going down. He just fought into a straight up siege position, and INnoVation because of that is very easily going to be able to hold on in game number 3. GG. INnoVation takes the 3rd game. He just about